Darcy never imagined her life would shrink this small. 5 years? 5 whole years of waking up before Daniel, making his breakfast, ironing his shirts, packing his lunch, and watching him walk out the door like she didn't exist. She used to dream of graduating, getting a career, traveling with Laura, building a future that was hers. Now her dreams were grocery lists and laundry cycles. At first, she told herself it was temporary. He just needs time to get stable. He's stressed. He's tired. But every year, Daniel changed, and not in the way love was supposed to change a man. He worked later, came home drunk, stopped saying thank you, stopped touching her, stopped seeing her. And Darcy, she became invisible in her own home, a ghost wearing an apron. It wasn't just the chores, it was the loneliness. Weekends were the worst. Daniel would dress nice, spray cologne, grab his keys, and say, "Don't wait up." And he never explained where he was going. He didn't have to. Darcy already knew. The lipstick stains on his collars weren't hers. The perfume on his jacket wasn't hers. The late night whispers behind the bathroom door weren't for her. She knew, but she stayed because she had given him everything. Years of her life, her youth, her future. And she didn't know who she was without him. And Laura, her best friend, the only person who told her the truth, the only one who begged her to leave. Darcy pushed her away. "You're jealous because I have a man," she had shouted. And Laura walked out that day with tears in her eyes, whispering, "Darcy, one day you're going to wake up and you won't even recognize yourself." Now, those words haunted her every morning because Darcy no longer recognized the girl she used to be, the girl who had dreams, the girl who believed in love, the girl who laughed loudly and walked with confidence. All that was left was a tired woman living in a house that wasn't hers, with a man who wasn't hers, and a future that didn't belong to her anymore. Darcy had never felt heartbreak so sharp. Daniel's affair was no longer hidden, it was official, public, confident. The same woman he used to whisper to behind closed doors, the same woman whose lipstick Darcy had washed off his collars, was now the woman he brought home. And one night, Daniel looked Darcy straight in the eyes and said, "You need to leave." No emotion, no guilt, no hesitation. 5 years of her life thrown out like old furniture. Darcy walked out with 2 bags and tears she refused to wipe. She couldn't go back to the village, not after sacrificing everything for a man who discarded her. And she couldn't face Laura, not after pushing her away for telling the truth. So she disappeared into the city. She found a tiny apartment, a single room with a rusted sink, cracked walls, and a bed too small for dreams. But it was a place where she could start over. And she did, slowly, painfully. She started doing nails for the neighborhood women, then hair, then brows. Her small room became a tiny salon. Her hands, once busy, cleaning, ironing, cooking for Daniel, were finally working for her. She wasn't healing, not yet, because every night when she lay in that narrow bed, she thought of him. She wondered if he missed her, if he ever regretted anything, if he even remembered the girl who built her life around him. Daniel didn't remember. In fact, Daniel got married to her, the other woman, the woman who stole 5 years from Darcy without saying a word. And when Darcy saw the wedding pictures posted online, smiling, glowing, perfect, something inside her snapped. She felt anger like fire. Not the soft, burning kind, but the kind that melts metal and ruins everything in its path. Darcy began stalking Daniel online, then in person. She watched him leave his new house, watched him enter his job, watched him buy flowers for his new wife, flowers he never once bought for her. Every detail was a fresh wound. The more she saw, the more she hated him, and the more she hated him, the clearer her new mission became. Revenge. She wanted him to lose everything, to feel humiliation, to feel abandonment, to feel the same emptiness he left her with. Not just emotional revenge, she wanted to ruin his reputation, his peace, his pride. But before she destroyed him, she would rebuild herself, stronger, bigger, powerful. So Darcy created a social media page for her nail and hair work. At first, it got a few likes, then dozens, then hundreds. People loved her transformations, loved her style, loved her story, the parts she allowed them to see. And as more clients came, so did more money. She moved out of her small room. She rented a bigger one, then a small storefront, then a full salon. Bright lights, mirrors, chairs, customers lining up outside. Darcy was becoming successful, but the darkness in her heart did not fade. Every achievement, every new client, every compliment only reminded her of the woman she used to be and the man who destroyed her. She wasn't building a business for happiness. She was building power. Because one day, when she was strong enough, when she had everything Daniel once said she couldn't achieve, she would return for him, and she would make him wish he had never broken her. Darcy wasn't expecting anything special that day. She was just doing her shopping, ticking items off her list, minding her own thoughts. When a familiar voice softly called her name, Darcy? Darcy froze. There, standing near the cosmetics aisle, was Laura, her best friend, her warning, her heartbreak, her guilt. Darcy's throat tightened. She didn't know whether to run or cry, but Laura walked straight to her and pulled her into a tight hug, as if the past 5 years hadn't happened at all. They sat down at a cafe inside the mall, awkward at first, then slowly warming up as Darcy began explaining everything. The breakup, the cheating, the eviction, the pain, the tiny apartment, and finally, the salon. I own a full salon now, Darcy said quietly, her voice carrying pride and sadness at the same time. Laura's eyes lit up. That's amazing, Darcy. See, you've rebuilt your life. Imagine what more you could do if you had the right skills. What do you mean? Darcy asked. There's a business school, Laura explained. It teaches people how to grow their companies. Marketing, branding, finance, everything. You should join. You'd be unstoppable. For the first time in a long while, Darcy felt hope, maybe even excitement. So she applied, and that's where she met Mike. Mike was one of the founders of the school, wealthy, successful, and known for supporting small businesses until they became empires. He wasn't arrogant about it. He wasn't loud. He was kind, sharp-minded, soft-spoken. And when he met Darcy, he instantly noticed something in her. Strength, her passion, her discipline, her story. He took a liking to her, gently at first, then more and more. Darcy found herself drawn to him too. He made her laugh again. He made her feel seen. He poured belief into her where Daniel had drained her. For the first time, she started forgetting about revenge. She started thinking about success, peace, happiness. But while Darcy was moving forward, Daniel was falling apart. His marriage, the one he threw Darcy away for, was rotting from the inside. His wife didn't cook, didn't clean, didn't support him, didn't care for his job stress, didn't do anything Darcy used to do. The house was a mess. Daniel's life was chaos. So he did what he always did. He looked for another woman at work, another affair, another lie, more late nights, more secrets. Meanwhile, Darcy's business was booming. Clients lined up for her nails, hair, lashes. She was booked for weeks. And then one day, as Darcy was preparing her workstation, the door opened. Darcy froze. Standing there, holding her handbag awkwardly, was Daniel's wife. She had no idea who Darcy really was. I hope you can squeeze me in, she said loudly. I need my nails fixed. And honestly, she rolled her eyes. My husband is stressing me out. He doesn't appreciate anything. He's messy, he's ungrateful, he's acting strange. Sometimes I think he's cheating on me. Darcy stared at her, expression calm, heart steady. Daniel's wife continued rambling, ranting about Daniel's behavior, complaining about the same man she took from Darcy. Without realizing, she was pouring her heart out to the ex-girlfriend whose life she destroyed. Darcy didn't say a word. She simply walked quietly, listening. And at that moment, Darcy realized something. She didn't need to revenge Daniel. Life was doing it for her. Daniel's affair exploded across the entire office like wildfire. Screenshots, WhatsApp voice notes, pictures. Everyone saw everything. And just like that, his reputation collapsed. HR summoned him first thing Monday morning. He walked out carrying a small box with his belongings, head down, ashamed, fired, disgraced, exactly the life he traded Darcy for. At home, the news hit even harder. His wife found the messages, saw the photos, and without even raising her voice, she packed her bags and filed for divorce. The perfect life he thought he had built, gone in a single day. Meanwhile, Darcy's life took the opposite route. Darcy and Mike eventually tied the knot in an intimate but stunning ceremony. She was now Mrs. Fairfax, married to a man who believed in her potential before he believed in his own. And her business? Darcy's beauty studio had grown into a city-wide empire. Multiple branches, billboards, social media pages verified with a blue tick. Clients booked months in advance. Darcy was no longer the girl who got hot. She was a brand. One afternoon, Darcy sat in Mike's corporate office, conducting interviews for a new partnership program. Her gold nameplate rested neatly in front of her. Darcy Fairfax, co-founder and creative director. Applicants entered one by one. Confidence, resumes, smiles. Then the door opened again. Darcy glanced up and froze. Daniel. Her past walked into the room, wearing a cheap suit and desperation. He stopped in his tracks. His face fell apart in disbelief when he saw her sitting in the interviewer's chair. Darcy? He whispered, voice trembling. Darcy leaned back in her seat, calm, radiant, and successful in every way he once thought she couldn't be. Daniel swallowed hard and looked down. I shouldn't even ask how you've been. Clearly, life has treated you well. Darcy smiled politely, but her eyes held no softness. I can't say the same for you, she replied. Daniel nodded slowly, and for the first time in his life, he understood the consequences of his choices. You were the one person who built me, he said quietly. You kept me together. You made a home for us. I threw away the only real thing I ever had. And I paid the price. My wife left. I lost my job. Everything fell apart. I was unfaithful. I destroyed everything good in my life. Finally, he whispered, Darcy, please, I'm begging you for forgiveness. Before Darcy could answer, the door opened. Mike walked in, tall, successful, calm, the kind of man who didn't need to destroy women to feel powerful. He walked up behind Darcy and gently placed a hand on her shoulder. Daniel looked at the two of them, and in that moment, reality hit him harder than the affair scandal ever did. Darcy had moved on. Darcy was loved. Darcy was rich. Darcy was powerful. And he was just a lesson she had already outgrown. Darcy stood up, straightened her blazer, and said softly, Daniel, life didn't destroy you. You destroyed yourself. Then she handed him his rejected application. The position has been filled. Daniel lowered his head and walked out. A man who once thought he could do better, now realizing he lost the best woman he ever had. Darcy sat back down, glowing with peace. Not revenge, not bitterness, just freedom.